where to start with. Maybe if you can give us some background on some of your influences growing up, and you learning how to play in the beginning.
Well, you know, I come from a generation of drummers, two generations deep, you know, back to my grandfather, and probably before that. I haven't done my ancestral you know, the ancestry, AfricanAncestry.com. I haven't done that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. My father was a drummer. He played with people like Sonny Stitt and Arthur Prysock and Bill Davison and he used to sub gigs for the great Chris Colombo. And Chris Colombo was the father of Sonny Payne, the great drummer from the Basie Band. So all around me, I grew up around amazing musicians who played drums. My uncle played drums in Oregon, my Uncle Sam in Philly. My grandfather played cymbals in the church, just cymbals. Right? I have them. They're about 8 inches, 10 inches, small cymbals, timekeeping only. You did, and and then I grew up. Wow, is that me or is that on your end? Maybe I'll turn my mic down a little bit. It's feeding back, it's clipping. Sounds like it's clipping a little bit. That's better.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the area I grew up in, Pleasantville, New Jersey. It's right outside of Atlantic City, and so it's 7 miles from Atlantic City, 9 miles from a place called Ventnor, and I grew up in Pleasantville. Harvey Mason is from Atlantic City, and Peter Erskine is from Ventnor. So, you know, as much of a little town that it is, there's a rich history of drummers that come from that area.
Oh,
you know?
Okay, good.
So drums was always in the house. So it was wild because I would, you know, do little things to get on punishment. And they like, you got to stay in the house. And that was when I got most of my practicing. Yeah, and every time I got in trouble, I'd bring another instrument home from school. You know, especially when I got to high school.
Okay.
But I played drums. I started playing drums since I was like 3 years old. And then around the 4th grade, I started playing trumpet. I played trumpet through the marching band in high school. And then in the jazz band, I played drums, you know, and sometimes trumpet because there were other drummers. But there were always more drummers than there were trumpet players. So that's what I ended up doing. And then kind of continued on when I got to college. I failed the percussion audition as a freshman, but because I knew more major and minor scales than I knew rudiments. So, you know, my first semester freshman year, I played trumpet in the band sitting next to Terence, you know, Terence Blanchard. So that's, you know, that's how my early beginning. And also I studied music theory and sang in the choir with a woman named Dr. Ola Gathers, who's one of my great early influences, kind of one of my second moms. She taught me music theory and had our entire choir singing the whole Christmas section, recitatives, and all of the choral pieces and the solos from Handel's Messiah from memory in high school, and that was a lot of music to be dealing with. So,
Yeah, most definitely.
I had both a R&B background, because that was the music I listened to. Jazz was always around. I didn't really pay any attention to it until I was about 17 or 18. I mean, I listened to a lot of instrumental R&B. One of my uncles, the one uncle who didn't play any instrument, is the one probably responsible for exposing me to the most music,
Okay.
because he used to bring me records all the time when he'd visit from New York, my Uncle Andrew. So that's about it. That's it for the early part. That's how I got exposed.
Oh, okay. And then so you went into college and you started studying. And I guess I'll mention it now. One of your greatest mentors was the great Art Blakey. Can you tell us how you got into playing with him, and besides maybe some other mentors that got you to
Well,
that point?
yeah, before Art Blakey, I mean, there was a great Paul Jeffrey.
Uh-huh.
Paul Jeffrey, saxophone player, Thelonious Monk's last musical director, one of Charles Mingus's last musical directors. And I auditioned for the department at Rutgers in the summer.
Okay.
So the drum teacher, who I'll get into in a minute, wasn't there. So I took my audition on trumpet.
Oh, wow.
Because they didn't have he didn't know anything about drums, and I had a trumpet with me. Talking about I was a drummer, and then he heard me play. I probably tried to play Satin Doll or Take the A Train or something like that, and I got in the department, and then once I got in school, and I met Terence Blanchard, I said, "Oh, now this is a trumpet player. I'm just a guy who plays trumpet." Because like there's a difference between. It's a big difference between a guy who plays trumpet and a trumpet player. Just like there's a big difference between people who drink beer and beer drinkers. You know what I'm saying? Okay? People who drink beer should not try to drink with beer drinkers. They get
Right.
they get their ass kicked, right? And so I was trying to convince Paul that I played drums, that I was really a drummer that played the trumpet. He was like, "Man, you could be halfway decent if you just settle down and practice and stop thinking about them drums." And then I met Michael Carver. Michael Carver also in the first semester, and he was my first teacher. And like I said, I didn't know any rudiments. He was like, "You can't study with me because you don't know any rudiments. You got to go and learn the alphabet for the language of drums." He said, how many letters of the alphabet are there? 26. How many rudiments are there? I don't know. That's why you can't study with me, because there's 26 letters of the alphabet. So go learn the alphabet of the instrument of the language of drums if you want to go study. So that was like my first lesson. And the homework lasted all semester. And I went and learned my rudiments and kept playing trumpet. And in the end, the end of the spring semester, the middle of the spring semester, I got an opportunity to sneak up on the drum set while Paul wasn't looking, like in the middle of a tune, while he was distracted, because the guy who was playing drums, his name was Carl Atkins, bad cat. And so when Paul turned around to give the next band cue, I was sitting on the drums, and the band was still cooking, and there wasn't any lack of energy or dip in musicality. And so that's how I finally proved myself as a drummer. Then I
Oh.
came back in the spring and learned the rudiments. And, you know, I've been a student of Michael Carvin's ever since. So it was Michael Carvin and Paul Jeffrey, along with Kenny Barron and Larry Ridley and Ted Dunbar, who put guys like Kenny Clark, Art Blakey, Max Roach, Philly Joe Jones on my radar for the first time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Those were the cats that I was exposed to first, right? And for whatever reason, I was drawn to the sound of Art Blakey and the approach of Art Blakey. And then Terence got the gig with Art Blakey.
Oh.
And I guess part of being drawn to him was how much Terence and I used to listen to Blakey records. I mean, we used to listen to a lot of other stuff, but he was trying to get that gig. So we would listen to records together a lot. And other things that he was on, like Johnny Griffin, Little Bird, The Way You Look Tonight, that version with Johnny Griffin and John Coltrane, that's Art Blakey on drums, right? So, so once Terence got the gig and left school, we stayed in touch, and I would follow him around. And anytime the jazz messages hit within 50 miles of New York or New Brunswick, I was there. You know what I mean? I could sneak in the back. I ain't had no money. You know, I'd pick up an instrument case or something and walk in with the band, something like that. And after a couple of months of doing that, Art Blakey at the Jazz Forum on the old Jazz Forum on West Broadway in New York City, came out the bandstand, patted me on my shoulder, just walked to the dressing room. Just a kind of like nonverbal acknowledgement that, okay, I've been seeing you, you've been following me around, and I just want to let you know that I know that you've been following me around. And so, you know, I'm all excited now because I exist to Art Blakey, right? And this is around the same time John Toussaint was being introduced to Art Blakey. And Terence introduced me, and I went and sat down because I would always sit right off his hi-hat, so I could see his hands, I could see his feet. You know what I mean? It's probably why I'm hard of hearing. Probably got hearing loss because of that. But you know, so Art used to play in New York 2 or 3, 4 times a year. Every time he was getting ready for a tour or coming off a tour, getting ready for a recording, he would play a club in New York. It was either Sweet Basil, the West End, Jazz Forum, and then uptown it would be McKell's. Every summer he would play at Grant's Tomb, you know. So the band had regular hits in New York that they did all the time. And they played at McKell's. And between the Jazz Forum event and the McKell's gig, I did my first gig in New York with Walter Davis, who was another jazz messenger. And Whitney and Branford Marsalis were on that gig, and Phil Bowler was playing bass. And that was at Barry Harris's Jazz Cultural Center. And there are still people in New York who are old enough who remember that gig. You know, it was a hell of a gig and a hell of a night of music. Walter was a great influence on me too, outside of school. I met him at Rutgers because he came in with Philly Joe Jones. But he took a liking to me, and he's from Jersey. You know, Walter Davis from East Orange. So, you know, he started throwing me some work, teaching me about Bud Powell. You know, and that's how I kind of got my Max game up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so uh, the gig at McKell's happens, and one particular night I'm there. I forget whether it was the Friday or the Saturday, because they would run 7 days. I mean 5 days at McKell's, at least 4 or 5 days. And that particular night, Smitty sat in, and Tane sat in. I think Cindy sat in. 3 drummers sat in, right? Because they played 3 sets. And on one of the breaks, Winton reintroduces me to Art. Hey man, little drummer from Jersey named Peterson. He can swing a little bit. You ought to let him sit in. And Art says, well, if he sounds that good, why don't you hire him? You know, yeah, which seemed like a reasonable question to me. Yeah.
Right.
But I sat in with Art that night. It was also the night that Johnette Moffett sat in for the first time with the Jazz Messengers. And that night he kept me up till, till sunrise, talking about, I've been waiting for you. We're going to get the big band together. We're going to get everybody together. We're going to get Freddie Hubbard and Wayne Shorter, Hank Mobley and Lee Morgan. I was like, wait a minute, boo, they ain't here no more. I don't know if I want to be in that band yet. And so cats were like warning me, man, don't get too excited. Artists, feeling no pain. It's the happy hour, 4:00 a.m., right? But true to his word, in March of 1983, I played for the first time with the Jazz Messenger 2-drummer big band at the Boston Globe Festival at Berklee College of Music.
Wow.
So I still get goosebumps when I walk into that venue. Now, having been on the faculty going on 19 years now at Berklee, it don't get old. It's like, like that line in Black Panther when he comes into Wakanda and they break through the camouflage and he says, this part never gets old.
Yeah.
It never gets old walking into that venue.
Oh, I imagine, so many memories for you.
Yeah, a lot of memories there. So that's my Art Blakey story.
Oh man, that's a great, and I think it's a great thing for the younger cats coming up to hear that story about how the baton will be passed to the next generation.
And not only that, but it my story talks about the importance of just showing up.
Yeah, exactly.
And being ready when the opportunity presents itself. Not arriving on the scene with an expectation that because you're new, somebody, because Art would go around the world telling people, you ought to come to New York, you ought to come to New York. And then they would come to New York and run up to Art and say, Mr. Blakey, I'm here, I'm in New York. And he'd say, so what? You know what I mean?
Oh man.
So, so many of our young people have this sense of that they're entitled to exposure and recognition and opportunity, and they're not. They're just not. You have to put yourself in that position, and you can look at how the game has changed in terms of technology and stuff like that. But there are some basic principles that embed some shit in your music that if you don't do them, your music's it's going to be missing stuff. It may be technically correct. It may be hip like everybody else is hip these days. But if you're missing that ethereal, that esoteric component with respect to where it all comes from, that's why you see cats who have comic careers. They come out in a burning flash of light, 6 to 9 months, ain't nobody talking about them no more.
Yeah.
Anybody can make one record. Anybody that plays an instrument with any level of proficiency can make a record.
Right, exactly.
Make 10 and have people care about all of them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, because you got guys that are, you know, I mean, I'm about to release my 25th record as a leader. And I'm relatively confident when I say that all of my records are appreciated by some segment of the music listening public.
Oh, yeah, I'd say so. Most definitely. Yeah.
You know, I hadn't put out any records that I wished I hadn't.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There are some that sonically are stronger than others, fidelity wise,
Mm-hmm.
given the circumstances, the recording circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Some live records, or back in the early days of CDs, there were companies were trying to save money on the quality of blank discs that they used to replicate versus duplicate, you know, stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the music, the content of the record
Mm-hmm.
is something that you know, I'm proud of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that's I love those records myself, and actually that's a kind of a perfect segue into my next question, because you've been in the game for over 30 plus years, you know, and performing at a high level.
35.
35,
Yeah.
oh, 35,
Yeah,
oh
over 35. Yeah, man.
man, yeah. So I mean, you know, we can only aspire to, you know, keep going as strong as you have, and
I'm
as long.
just grateful I can get up and get on the bike and ride 5 miles after having done anything for 35 years. Shit.
Yeah. uh, can you let's see? I'm just reading my question here. Can you maybe let me see. Can you share with us, I guess, some of the secrets to your success for, I guess, talking about this longevity in your career? Like, has it been like a diet thing, a health thing, outlook on life, all that included, or what would you say?
Well, I mean, from the music, I just kind of went into it. You got to respect the shoulders of the giants on which you stand. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And remember where you're coming from, and get over the notion that anything you're doing is wholly and completely original,
Yeah,
right?
real talk. Yeah.
Because, you know, because most of the time, the cats who think they're super original, or the writers who write about something being unique and never been done, are
Mm-hmm.
exposing more of their own ignorance and lack of thorough study
Mm-hmm.
on the
Yeah.
whole body of work of this music than they are um, to identify something new, which is what they're all after. They all want to take credit for having written that this is the new thing first about something that, you know, with a little bit of study, you realize happened in a different form 30 or 45 years ago. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? So, and so, like, once you get over that and recognize that this music is an art form that continues to evolve, and that the more it changes, the more the founding principles of it stay the same. You dig what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so um, that's an important part of what I teach as an educator at Berkeley. You
Okay.
know, in terms of, you know, I mean, my story is an example of both what you should do and for some time what you shouldn't do. You know, because I
Mm-hmm.
got caught up in the drug piece, I got caught up in the cocaine piece for a long time and was unemployable for a minute. You
Mm.
know,
Okay.
but I've now been drinking drug free over 24 years, longer than I ever used anything. You know, I haven't even had a cigarette. You see, if I'm going on 19 years at Berkeley, that means I'm going on 17 years cigarette free, which is something
Oh,
I
God.
hadn't really thought about in a while. You know,
Uh-huh.
um, nonetheless, and not because of the cigarettes, I've been battling cancer for 5 years. You know, it's a different kind of cancer.
Yeah.
It wasn't related to smoking, but
Mm-hmm.
what's the date? The 17th. 3 days, I'll be 50. I'll be 58 years old.
Oh
In
man,
3 days.
looking good.
So I'm a fifth degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
I can still get on a stationary bike and ride 20 miles. I guess I could have, if I wanted to be out there riding 2 hours, I could be out. I could knock 20 miles down. I mean, I just did 5 miles in about 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
25, 30 minutes. And I just was going to, okay, I'm going to ride to the corner. And I got to the corner. It's like, okay, I'm going to turn the corner. I'm going to go down the road. I got down the road, like, okay, I'm going down to the state highway. And now it's like, oh shit, I got to get back and talk to Darryl because he's waiting for me. So then I had to turn around and grind a little bit to get back.
Oh, gotcha.
I ended up going out about 2.5 miles and came back 2.5 miles. So that's cool. I got it in for the day. I've been waiting for the weather to break. Spiritual condition is important too. And I'm a practicing Buddhist now, 30 going on 31, 32 years. I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That is my philosophy, and my belief system is built on that, but it includes and incorporates all the best of what I've learned in any of the spiritual practices that I've practiced, and I've practiced several. I was born Christian. I spent a period practicing Islam or mispracticing Islam, and then music. This music is a religion too. How we deal with it, what it does for us, and what the music does for the world is not unlike what religion does, and especially in these days of the pandemic and the quarantine. People that I'm reading, I'm not reading them. I'm looking at all these headlines that are talking about the death of the industry for musicians, but you know what? People always going to want, and people always going to need music, because, like Art Blakey said, music wash away the dust of everyday life. You know what I'm saying? And it's a kind of spiritual cleansing that goes on either when you create it or when you decide that you go figure out what this giant steps thing is and sit down at the piano, and you come away being able to play it at 120 quarter notes when you couldn't play it at 40 quarter note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sense of growth is what's good for the human spirit. I find the same kind of goal setting is healthy for me in martial arts. So that's why I participate in martial arts. But, everybody's got to find their own thing. I know, one of my good friends, who's also a teetotaler like me now, is also a great painter, as well as a great musician. Some people are into boats, Ron Savage, the dean of the performance division, is a great, great drummer, amazing administrative mind, and one hell of a florist. He's got, his thing is gardening and floor, so, there's a bunch of cats like to fish, and are serious about that. But you need something to kind of counterbalance, the obsession of the music.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to relate to people in non-musical terms through your music, whatever the struggle is, and that's what makes, I think, music more accessible. Art Blakey talked about, being careful not to play over the heads of people, play to the heart of people,
Yeah. Yeah, man. The art had, the older I get, I look back at some of the advice from elders, including yourself. It's just like, it makes more sense as you get older. And that's one of them,
Well, same thing with your parents, man. You know what the saying is about your parents: the older I get, the smarter they become.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly,
yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I think it's important because I mean, some people may have the perspective that it's just a God-given talent, but I think just like athletes, they don't see the stuff that goes behind the scenes in preparation for what we do for writing and playing
And how,
and
a
all
lot
these
of people
things.
people talk about, everybody's in you mentioned the last dance. Everybody's in this, who's the greatest of all, who's the GOAT, you know. And of course the young people are always going to identify with the person they saw the most often, you
Right.
know. But to think about, and this is no diss to LeBron because I'm sure LeBron knows this. But to accomplish the shit that Bill Russell did in
Right.
Boston during that time in history,
Yep.
when you relatively compare it to what LeBron has done,
Hmm.
and Bill Russell looks at LeBron and says, I could never get my body to do that kind of shit. Or look at, Bill Russell look at Kevin Durant, who's basically built the same, and say, I could never get my body to do that. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So there's it's really kind of pointless to waste too much energy in that argument. Um, I tend to avoid the who's your biggest influence question. It's a
Hmm.
loaded question. I mean,
Right.
Art Blakey is one of my biggest influences. But I
Hmm.
also I'm not only the last drummer that Art Blakey chose to play as a jazz messenger, but I'm the last drummer that Elvin Jones called to sub for him.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't necessarily even know that. And
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time jumping up and down on it.
Hmm.
Because like I learned in recovery, the truth don't need defending. It just is.
Yep. I hear
you know,
you. I
don't
hear.
need defending.
Uh-huh.
It's just truth. You know.
Oh yeah. And speaking of the instrument, the drums, I think sometimes people think the drums don't have a sound to them. Like, you just get on and you hit them, but there is a sound to them, and it takes a lot of time and effort to develop your own personal sound. So maybe you can share with us how you went about the process of developing. I'm sure with listening and practicing, but any other tips or stuff for young drummers and just musicians in general to listen for.
The development of a sound is not unlike the development of a style.
Hmm.
And that process is similar regardless of the discipline,
Hmm.
whether it's boxing or basketball or
Hmm.
martial arts or stand up comedy.
Hmm.
Each generation is influenced by the generation before because it's the generation before that inspires you to say, I want to do that when I grow up. That's what I want to do.
Hmm.
You,
Yep.
you have to first see what you want in somebody else. And then you start to gather, oh, well, I like this too. I never heard of him. Oh, I like him too. I like her too. Man, I didn't know she could play like that. And oh, I like that's what she does. Let me figure out what that is. And I'll take what that is and I combine it with the stuff that I like from over here and combine it with the stuff that I like from over here and try to play it all at the same time. Right.
Yeah.
And so you develop the dexterity and the technical ability to do that. And if you're lucky, life, music, experience, or a teacher will come along and say, you don't have to play everything you know.
Yeah.
And then then you move into the kind of Michelangelo approach, Michelangelo is with his apprentice, and the apprentice asked him, Master, how do you create such interesting sculpture
Hmm.
from such huge blocks of wood, of marble?
Hmm.
And Michelangelo's answer was, the sculpture's already there. I'm just removing the unwanted pieces.
Mm.
So after you gather all of this facility, you then have to figure out what you want to say based on how you feeling and what you think in your spirit and your gut, and how little you need to play to say what you want to say. And that might seem like a lot coming from a guy who plays as quote unquote as much as I do. But my playing only sounds like too much drums if you're only listening to it as drumming.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right? If you're only listening to it as drumming, then, you know, you're not vibrating on a high enough frequency to appreciate what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's okay. Just keep coming to the music and keep listening. Because I didn't like Charlie Parker the first time I heard him. I didn't like Joe Henderson the first time I heard him. And they're my two favorite saxophone players. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now they are, but I had to grow into them being my two favorites. I had to become enough of a student to understand why they are my favorite. And so the same thing with sound. Rather than get into all the nerdy technical aspects of tuning or get into a bunch of product endorsement, you know what I'm saying? You may decide as you develop that a particular brand makes it easy for you to get to the sound or the feeling you want. And that's part of the process, you know? And I've been lucky with that. But I've used recordings to teach the cymbal makers in the four companies that I've been with, including Mino now. I use recordings to teach them how I want the qualities I want my cymbals to have.
Oh, dig. Okay.
All right, I want it to sound a little bit like Live from the Plug Nickel, and a little bit like Live at the Vanguard, and a little bit like Miles in the Sky, and a little bit like Lewis Hayes from the Kicker. And can you put that all in one cymbal?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Right? And then they get as close as they can get. And then after that, it's my job to pull the sound that I'm hearing out of that instrument.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And people get too reliant on brands and equipment sometimes. You dig what I'm saying? I've been with Mapex. Mapex drums have been around for 30 years. I've been an endorser Mapex drums have been around 31 or 32 years. I've been an endorser 30 years now.
All right, so you were from the jump start of everything.
From the beginning of the company, I've been there, right? And so, but on the other hand, I've listened to and watched Art Blakey not have his sticks, not have his cymbals. I used to tune Art's drums.
Okay.
Right? So everything that you heard live, like the Live at Sweet Basil, with Terence Blanchard on trumpet, I tuned those drums.
Wow, yeah, that's some great history. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to go and tune John Ramsey was Art's roadie, right? The great John Ramsey was Art's road manager and the only other living second drummer, Jazz Messenger, right? Me and him. And but I would just ask Art if he needed anything. You need me to, I wouldn't go up to him and say, you need to let me tune your drums. See, that's the way a lot of these young cats come off. You dig what I'm saying? They step to your face and with all this disrespect. And a lot of old school cats, they find themselves picking themselves up off the floor behind some of the shit they say to us. But, in the spirit of how can I be of service? How can I help you? Because what can I give to you for all that you've given me? Can I tune your drums? You want some water? You want some wine? Whatever it is. You got to be, because being a musician is a service gig. A lot of
True.
people get all caught up into the esoteric artisticness of being an artist. And I'm like, man, fuck that. When being a musician is a service
Mhm.
job. It's a
Yeah.
service-oriented gig. What is it that you serve? The music itself
Mhm.
is what you serve. And the music is its own entity, right?
Mhm.
And as long as you take care of the music will see to it that you are taken care of.
Very
And
true.
I know one of your questions was about the pandemic and how we're getting through and having a spiritual base, having some regular physical activity,
Mhm.
um, having a good sense to just get out the house, you know,
Yeah.
and get away from your partner and get away from the kids, even
Yes.
if it ain't but for 30 minutes, okay? It's amazing how much good it does, right? Because this pandemic is not going to be responsible for an explosion in the birth rate. It's going to be responsible for an explosion in the divorce rate. You know,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
even people who love each other ain't supposed to be together this goddamn much. There's too much
Yeah.
together. All right.
Oh man,
But
that's so true.
now I got that off my chest.
Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is, um, I've been really, really blessed and grateful to have worked hard to get my career and my both of my careers, my performance career and my career as an educator, to the
Mhm.
place where it's well over 100 grand for this summer alone.
Mhm.
I'm not desperate.
Yeah.
I'm not running around my hair on fire. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And because of that, I've done a couple of things. For the first 2 or 3 months of this quarantine thing, I haven't participated in soliciting private students
Gotcha.
because there's too many full-time teachers out there. I mean, full-time musicians out there who don't have the
Mm.
of a teaching gig that really need to get their teaching thing up off the ground so that they can just survive, right?
Yeah.
Now, having done that for 3 months, the cutoff is on my birthday. I'm gonna start taking private students, online um,
Mhm.
after May 20th.
Okay.
Because I feel like I've sat out long enough for anybody who really needs to get in can get in, have had room to get in. Anybody
Right.
that ain't got in now just ain't really trying. Okay,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
uh, and there are a lot of students who are looking forward to working with me, and I'm looking forward to working with them. I'm real grateful to Berkeley, man. They've been so supportive through this
Mhm.
health battle and I just finished 5.5 weeks of radiation.
Mhm.
I've been out on medical leave at least 3 times in the last 5 years,
Mhm.
and the college has been nothing but support. And so I'm really lucky for that. And so I give like my life is dependent on it, because were it not for that kind of support, I wouldn't be here. I'd have been gone already.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
this pandemic thing is also the thing I wanted to share about this, and I put it in a post on my social media. But there's a leveling of the playing field
yep. I know what you mean.
that's going down right now. That in a way is almost a blessing.
Mhm. Yep.
If you can get yourself to see it that way.
Mhm.
All problems bring gifts, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna
You
close the
know,
door real quick. My little one just came in, so I'm gonna close the door. One
that's
second.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Going back to
Yeah,
give a
but
little break. I have.
all problems bring gifts, man. And what she's probably telling you is you've been in here long enough. on here
Yeah.
long enough for me. You got to type all this shit up now. See, I was saying, ain't no way I'm gonna be able to type these kind of
Yeah,
answers.
I see what you mean now.
These is rapping questions, man. So if
Right.
I'm gonna record it and send it to you, and if you want to edit it some kind of way and present it as an interview, feel free. You have my permission. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
man. Because I appreciate what you're doing. I see what you're doing out here as an artist. You've been one of the cats out here who's been leading in the multimedia presentation thing,
Uh-huh.
and your music is great to play, very challenging. And so, man, you'll be all right too,
Yeah.
because
Thank you. I appreciate that.
people
Yeah.
can't listen, people can't wait to get out, whether it comes after we get a vaccine, it's going to come and people going to go back out.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
one thing that everybody's in touch with is how much they miss that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
How much they miss that. But there's some opportunities here for the forward-thinking young musician and even the old head who is willing to get with the technology a little bit. I'm still trying to get my microphone game together so that I could, when I do the Zoom thing, it'll be on the same level as all my music. Listen, I want to talk about this and then I'm gonna have to bolt. I'm running out of time.
Okay.
I'm really excited about this new record, man, that I'm doing. I'm released, and it's a classic example of how agile and nimble you have to be in today's circumstances, right? Because I was all set up. CD release party, 2-day event, Jazz at Lincoln Center, the Appel Room, May 1st and 2nd. It was all set up, right? So I got together, I assembled 17 messengers, 17 jazz messengers. The original band was Art Blakey, Hard Silver, and the 17 messengers. So I wanted to do like a conclave of messenger alumni, as well as introduce to the fold 2 or 3 cats who I believe, and others in the band believe, had Art still been alive, they would have surely become jazz messengers themselves. And so you got the messenger alumni, there's 14 of them and 3 legacy messengers, right? Talk about Zakai Curtis, Anthony Wanzi, and Ronaldo De Jesus. But the messenger alumni, man, I was really lucky to have found some financial backing for this project. Big shout to my man Hank Skalka. He probably don't want his name. We've been friends for 40 years, and he did well in the computer game. So he's like, man, I want to help you do your next record. So do whatever you want to do, put it down on paper. So I start writing. So I got Sean Jones was supposed to be on the record, but let me say that first. His daughter was born the weekend of the session.
Oh, wow.
So he couldn't make the date, right? But so on trumpet, he was another legacy messenger I was gonna have, right?
Oh,
but of the messenger alumni, I got on trumpet Brian Lynch and Philip Harper. On alto, Craig Handy's playing alto. Craig Handy's also playing tenor.
Nice.
Bill Pierce is playing tenor. I brought John Toussaint over from London on tenor. Then on trombone, I got Steve Davis and Robin Eubanks. I got Kevin Eubanks on one tune. Piano is Zakai, Wanzi, and Joanne Burkeen, a lot of people don't know that she played with the Messenger, right before James Williams.
Okay.
And then on bass, I got Elliot and Melissa, two people who I put on the bandstand, or helped to put on the bandstand through my suggestion to Art. Yeah, you ought to give these two a shot. And so, Elliot, you all know his relationship with Art. And right before Elliot, Melissa, coming off the success of the Fotet, was able to play, 2 or 3 gigs as a jazz messenger as well. And then I got Peter Washington and Lonnie Plaxico. So it's a crazy lineup, right? Donald Brown is producing the date. And so I was going to release the whole record May 1st and 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And then Corona hit. We finished the session on the 8th. Corona, they shut New York down on the 10th.
Gotcha. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Tucson barely made it out of JFK in time. You know what I mean? To get back home. So when the gig got canceled, I said, I got to look at the wisdom of releasing an entire record at a time where I ain't got no gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to take a page from the hip hop culture. And so on May 20th, which is my birthday, I'm going to drop a single.
Okay.
And then on 4th of July weekend, I'm going to drop another single.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And then in September, I'll drop the whole record. And the record's going to be called Onward and Upward. It's 4 different configurations, 3 of sextet. Actually, 1 of septet, because we got 7 with conga in one, and with the percussion in one, and 1 of quintet with Kevin. Mm-hmm. And it's not just, it goes a step beyond the first Messenger Legacy record where we, conjured up some of the great tunes from that band's heyday in various eras. But I really thought okay, there's no sense in doing that over, right? What would Art want me to do? And what would Art do if he was here? And if he was here, he would be talking about, well, where's the new music? And so this record, Onward and Upward, with the exception of one tune, Bill's tune, as a nod to him as the senior guy in the band, we decided to do Sudan Blue, which he recorded with Art Blakey. The other 10 tunes have never been played by Art Blakey. But they all carry the energy and idiomatic concept of the jazz messages, the way we played it. And so the other thing that's interesting about hearing that now is that, the records of jazz messages are usually the playing of people in their 20s. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because Art kept the young ones around. So now this band, this record has that same concept at its base, but it has my 35 years of experience, Bill's 45, 50 years of experience, and you add those 30 and 40 years of experience up times 17, and you got thousands of years of musical experience in this one project. So I'm real excited about it. We're going to have some videos, some performance videos ready to drop, some interview videos ready to drop. So I'm just real excited about it.
I am too. Yeah, that sounds like such a great lineup. I'm already, I'm looking at the chops now.
I'll send you a little sneak peek.
Oh, appreciate it. And where can for the people watching the video, where can they get the singles at, like iTunes and
The
Bandcamp?
single will be available on all the digital platforms: iTunes, Bandcamp, CD Baby.
Okay.
Um, and my website will have links to all of those places too. www.ralphpetersonmusic.com. Yeah.
Oh, oh
And
man.
you can
Oh,
find me on Facebook, Ralph Jr. Peterson, or Sir Ralph, because I'm a knight from the Knights of Malta. I've been knighted. And that
yes.
was a great honor.
Uh-huh.
And on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at RP Onyx, RPONYX.
Oh, beautiful, man. Yeah, I mean, this is like I mentioned you before in the magazine, Occhi magazine. This is the second interview I done. We're calling it Legends of Jazz, and just like I did with Warfield, I just found out a whole bunch of stuff I didn't know. So it's been a pleasure rapping with you about all this stuff, man.
It's my pleasure, man. Thanks for thinking about me.
Yeah, this is round one. I still got some questions, so we'll do this again soon.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, now you got me excited. So I got to do another. We have to do a follow up round in the future.
Well, listen, man, I haven't been to Japan as a leader since 1992. And you need to talk to your people over there and tell them they need to do something about that.
Okay.
I'm serious, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what's crazy is between 87 and 92, I went 15 times to Japan.
Wow.
I was literally going to Japan every 4 months for 5 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a
And then it
beautiful.
just stopped,
Yeah, it's
So,
a tricky. Yeah, yeah. We'll have to rap about that because I mean, the visa stuff is getting trickier. I rapped with Gene Jackson about it a couple of times. He said it's a little rough.
yeah, I'm sure it is, especially now with the health
Yeah.
stuff. All right, man, I really got to go. I'm being summoned by the
Um,
boss.
okay, sounds
You
good.
know
Well,
what
thank
it's
you for your
like.
time. Yeah.
All right, man.